I applaud all of your early nature. We never know on these summer community practice events how many people are going to make the time, invest their time into this session. It's great to see so many people here bright and early. If you are a long-time repeat visitor, you know the drill. If you are new, we love to invite you to leave your camera on if at all possible. Just gives us all so much better energy, helps us to build this community. If you've got your Zoom skills down, then go ahead and rename yourself to include your organization name so people know who you're with. And we like to keep that chat window popping. So the question right now, can you believe we are halfway through the year? That blows my mind. So 2025 is half over. How are you doing on your annual goals? Personal or professional? Give yourself a red, yellow, green rating. And Jessica's a yellow. Good to see you again, Jessica. So you're still halfway there. You got time to save that. Kim, hello from Pittsburgh, PA. I'm loving the series, The Pit. Hopefully it's not really that way in Pittsburgh because it's pretty stark. Dr. Mike, good to see you again as always. Anissa, green but tired, right? So you're putting it in. I like that, green but tired. Yellow, Todd from Tampa. Todd, welcome. Chartreuse. I love the creativity there, Matt. I love it. Paul is green. Good to hear it, Paul. You're on it as usual. We got a Canadian in the house. Nice, Brad. Thanks for joining. Yellow. Emily from what? Ugly San Diego. Emily, you're insulting so many people on this call. A lot of huge number of people from San Diego. Cedar Ridge, green, hitting our goals halfway through. We are enjoying a nice background music. The song is actually titled Emotional Intelligence, in honor of our guest this month. The band is called Chaos in the CBD, which is not a reference to your favorite seltzer. It's a reference to Central Business District. It's a band in New Zealand that goes by that name. If you just joined us, welcome. Please leave your camera on if you can. Rename yourself so we know what organization you are with. And warm up your fingers and let us know how you're doing on your goals. If anyone wants to share what one of their goals is, maybe someone who's done green, we want to know. Vicki Ham's a first timer. Welcome, Vicki. We like to give special attention to our first timers. And I want to remind people, you saw it in the notice, today we are giving away 100 copies of Travis Bradberry's new book, The New Emotional Intelligence. So stick around on the call. We're going to randomly pull them, but we're only at right now 131 people. So you got really good odds of getting a free book. And it's a reminder that if you didn't already give us your shipping address when you signed up for the COP, then you're going to want to do that. Either message us privately or send an email to Debbie@leadx.org or Evan@leadx.org. All right. I've stalled long enough to give people time to connect and join us. So we're going to kick off the program. Normally, I've got co-host Dwayne Best with me. He's on vacation actually this week, so I'm flying solo, but not for long. And the agenda, we've got a 1-hour session today, and it's going to look like this. Quick welcome, and I'm going to share an AI trick of the month just because I do think AI is going to revolutionize the world and all of our jobs as leadership development professionals and as leaders. We've got our special author chat of the month, Dr. Travis Bradberry. We've been pushing his book for many months, of course, already. We have the man himself here to talk about the book, to celebrate the book. And I always say every month, when it comes to building your social network, social capital, you need to dig the well before you're thirsty. So we're going to put you in a quick breakout so that you can talk about mid-year wins and not losses, but learnings with 3-4 other peers. You're going to have new LinkedIn friends, people that you can rely on and help whenever you need it. And for those of you who stick around, I save for the very end the top 5 plays of the month with a nod to ESPN, where I'm going to share 5 things that caught my eye in the last month that are great things to bring to your team or show off to your boss or bore people at your next cocktail party. If we haven't met yet, there were some first timers. I'm Kevin Cruz. I'm the founder and CEO of LEADx. This is a community of practice for leadership development professionals and those who own the leadership development function. It is an invite-only group. LEADx is the only vendor, coach, whatever you want to call it, here, and we stay out of the breakouts. We want that to be a chance for you to bring your real challenges, talk about real solutions, ask each other for vendor recommendations, et cetera, and we stay out of that. We just want to bring this to you as a way to build the community. We launched it in the middle of COVID. I like to remember, I think there was 4 of us with wine or other beverages at the time, and it's grown. As you can see, we're at over 100 members today. So let's dive in. We will send you slides and notes next week, so no need to take notes or screen grabs, but feel free if you'd like to. And I'm going to start with the AI trick of the month. Now, many of you will recall who've been following my work for a while. Some years ago, I wrote an article about creating your leadership user's manual. I created a YouTube video, wrote a Forbes article, and what you see so model 5.1, version 5.1 would have been about 7 years ago. I need to do an updated one, but I visually created this quote unquote user's manual that I would share with my team, how to work with me, the good and the bad. So everything that I knew about myself, I shared: my personality profile, my Clifton strengths, my personal mission, strengths, weaknesses, my known defects, my latest 360 survey results. And of course, this idea, I didn't come up with it originally, but it was all about managers sort of sharing this with their team members. And of course, we've evolved because it's not about getting everybody to adopt to our style. Everybody should have a user's manual, right? You want this from all of your direct reports. And this has been a valuable exercise. And this, of course, part of the LEADx cloud platform is to remind each other of our DISC style, our Big 5 style, et cetera. Well, with AI, now imagine that you could just feed this classic static written user's manual into ChatGPT. Now you've just simulated your boss. You can create a simulated version of your manager or a direct report or any colleague. And so it's this easy with ChatGPT here. Now I'm still in screen grab, but I've created a new project. I clicked on new project and I titled it SimBoss KK. So because I had my own data, I made the boss a simulated version of me. And then you would type instructions, and that's basically your prompt saying, hey, whenever I talk to you in this project, this is what I want you to do. So the prompt is, this project is all about helping me optimize my relationship with my boss. Here's about me. Now, I made this up. I'm 32 years old, et cetera. When I ask you questions, I want you to give me advice and or role play scenarios, assuming my boss has the following traits. And then I just copied my personality information, my Clifton strengths, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the more you put into the prompt, the richer the simulation, the more accurate the simulation is going to be. So we're bringing this document to life. Now, I'm going to try something, and this is definitely demoing without a net. Instead of showing a picture, I'm actually going to just talk to ChatGPT right now as if I was going to simulate a conversation with boss Kevin. So we'll see how this goes. Karina's saying very cool. Thank you, Karina. We'll see if this works. So what I'm going to do is I'm opening ChatGPT. I'm opening up the SimBoss, and let's see how it goes. Hey, are you ready to talk to me? I don't hear you. Are you there?
Got it. Simulation ended.
Hey, I want to start a new simulation. I want you to forget about any conversation I had with you before. Is that okay? I can hear you now. Oh, we've got time delay. Okay, let's start a new simulation.
Sure, we can definitely start fresh. Just look.
So you're hearing that I've got
awesome.
A bad connection.
What do you have in mind this time? Anything specific you'd like to work on with?
So this may not work because of the choppiness, but let's give it a try.
Got it. So we'll simulate a conversation where you need to share some not so.
Hey, so I'm starting the simulation.
Let's give it a shot. Just go ahead and start the conversation whenever you're ready.
I am starting it now. If the lag improves,
Perfect.
we'll see if this works.
Ready.
Yeah, this is not going to work with the chat. I'm going to come back to it. What you'll find is when there's not the lag going on is it's an interactive role play. So you could bring it a conflict conversation, you could bring it an idea, and it will either simulate your manager's approach, or you can just practice and get that analysis, and it'll give you a rubric back and forth. We'll see if we can bring that back if it's feeling better. The easier way, of course, would be to do it through typing. Just has less of that visceral atmosphere. The way people are taking this to the next level is actually creating simulations of all of their team members or their entire board of directors. That way you can practice meetings, practice change initiatives, et cetera, and kind of identify who's going to be your champions, who's going to be maybe needing extra help and things like that. So I think you get the idea, taking the leadership user manual, bringing it to life in ChatGPT or your favorite sim, and we'll see if we can get back to that demo. The point that I like to start with AI is in the age of AI, EQ is absolutely going to be your number one advantage. EQ has always been a bigger predictor than IQ of success at work. Now, when every device on your desktop has super genius IQ, you really aren't going to get ahead by knowing things. You told us in last year's benchmark survey that the number one highest priority for you as an industry was teaching emotional intelligence. Number one thing. And so this is where I do remind you that you've got two options if you are looking to bring EQ into your organization. You could become a LEADx certified EQ facilitator yourself, or have a LEADx certified facilitator run sessions for your team. You've been hearing me talk about this a lot. If you have any interest in this, best thing to do is just drop Evan a note here in the chat, or evan@leadx.org. And you would, as a certified facilitator, you get the slides, you get the full kit, you get a copy of the Ted Lasso DVD because we use Ted Lasso videos, you get a certification badge. And if you're not quite ready yet to make that leap, then you can sign up for one of our free showcase workshops. It's a 1 hour kind of greatest hits. You get to take the assessment, check out the content. We just finished yesterday, I think it was, a great session. 50 people were in it. August 5th, September 10th are the next 2 dates coming up. It is complimentary. We like to give you free things. Send a note to evan@leadx.org if you want to sign up for one of these upcoming showcase events. All right, enough about the need for EQ. You've been hearing about the book for many months, and now we finally convinced him to join us. He has 5 million copies of his books out in the world, translated in 25 languages. He has 2.6 million followers on LinkedIn. He's a keynote speaker, chief people scientist here at LEADx, of course, Dr. Travis Bradberry. Travis, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool. So we like to be one big happy family and always start with just something personal. Let people know, like, where are you coming from today? Where's home for you?
I'm coming from my house, and just in time for this session, they started jackhammering outside. We're getting some work done on our yard. So they shifted from the other side of the house to this side. So you may hear some of that. But yeah, I live in Solana Beach, which is North San Diego County.
Cool. We got a lot of sports trash talking fans. Who's your team? Who do you like?
I'm a diehard, it's been a long life, diehard San Diego sports fan. So I'm a Padre fan, former Charger fan before Spanos took our team away, and the San Diego Clippers, now LA Clippers. Those are my teams.
Pablo's saying sorry for your Chargers already.
Yeah, it's rough go down here.
Yeah, Padres are looking good, but it's such a tough, I mean, so many tough teams, playing along with them that it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Tough division, exciting team. So
anyway, hey, I want to remind everyone that Travis is here to answer your questions as well. So feel free to hit the questions in the chat or raise your digital hand, and Evan will keep an eye and let me know. So Travis, let's dive into it. So obviously, like everybody knows, you and your work primarily from Emotional Intelligence 2.0, which was the king for 16 years. You sold more EQ books than anyone else. Anyone who ever stumbled into an airport bookstore saw your bestseller book there. So why the new book now, like after all this time?
Well, you know, having a book like that is so successful and is an evergreen title that people return to year after year is, I'm very flattered by it. It's a great joy. Uh, the thing that people don't realize is that's my thinking from 16 years ago. I can't imagine anyone on this session has not evolved professionally in the last 16 years. So, I mean, I've been sitting on a lot of new information. There's been some really incredible research in psychology and neuroscience over the last 16 years. I've done tons of writing and thinking about emotional intelligence and how people can go about increasing it. So, and I also wrote a new emotional intelligence test. That was another thing where people may not realize this, but my previous EQ test was very popular. And when people get used to using your assessment, they don't want you to change it. You can change a feedback report, but you can't touch the items because it really throws people off and all the systems they've created around it. So not being involved with my former company anymore, I have a complete freedom to create what I want. So that's really what this book is. It's capturing all the latest in the field and in psychology and neuroscience. It's capturing my thinking around how you should go about increasing EQ today. And it's got a new test that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the test because, and again, reminder: 100 of you are going to get a free copy of this book. Many of you already have it, and it's super cool. Like, in the back of the book, there's this envelope. You unlock, you rip it open, and you get an access code to take the assessment. So, what are some of the changes? Like, how did you reimagine this test from versus the one you did 16 years ago?
Well, the big complaint with the other test is the ability to fake good, and it's a bit too easy for people who perhaps aren't very self-aware or don't want to make themselves look better than they really are. They can sort of pick out too many of the right answers, and that's what's great about this new test. It's very, very difficult to fake good. As far as a self-assessment goes, I don't think you can make it much better in terms of eliminating that weakness. And that means you're getting a more objective and accurate representation of where your emotional intelligence skills are today. And that's the important thing, right? It's even the book itself and the test will actually recommend which strategies from the book you should work on based on your score profile. Well, if your score profile isn't accurate, you're being pointed in the wrong direction. So I think this test is really great that way. That, like I said, that was something that I spent a number of years thinking about and wanting to improve it. And I was able to do that. So that's the biggest difference. It's a little longer than the other test too. It's a little more thorough.
And you mentioned the strategies. I think that is why your work has always been popular. It's the assessment and then very specific applicable strategies that you can apply in your life. How many new strategies in the book? Like how many strategies are in there?
So there's 60 new strategies and they're segmented according to skill. So there's self-awareness strategies and self-management strategies, social awareness strategies, and relationship management strategies. And the difference between the strategies in this book and the previous book is that these strategies are more in depth. So the average word count on the strategies in the previous book were about 400, and the word count average on these strategies is about 900. So they're twice as long. And that was another complaint. When you write a best-selling book, you just assume that everybody loves it. But go ahead and read the Amazon reviews. There's plenty of opportunities for improvement. And that was the chief complaint, right? It's not enough depth. I want more. I want more. So I tried to deliver that. And I understand the need.
Karina from Virgin Galactic is asking a question about, how did you eliminate the inherent issues related to self-reporting? It's in part human nature. Maybe you can speak to that and sort of the difference between self-assessments versus the 360 version.
Great question. The way I did that is it's all about frequency. So both the assessments use a frequency scale where the majority of the items in the previous assessment, the highest score was at the end of the scale, always or never. But in giving it more thought, like I said, 16 years of, well, that test I wrote in 2001. So you could say 25 years of thinking on that one. I realized there's so much nuance. If you ask the right question, most or a lot of the items, always or never is not even accurate, let alone the highest representation of EQ. There's a lot of times where you're just sort of off in this direction or you're off in this direction, and that's ideal. But if you go too far, you're actually starting to pull back, and that's a less emotionally intelligent behavior than, almost always is for the right behavior is more emotionally intelligent than always. So that's what happens with this test. So you read something, and if you assume that it's a quality that the test wants, and you throw down an always because you're trying to fake good versus answering honestly about how frequently you do the behavior, you're actually often lowering your score.
Yeah. So let's come back to the strategies. I mean, 60 is a lot. Now they're going to get personalized to you. It's like a prescription, right? So, okay, I've taken the assessment. Doctor's orders are work on these things. But is there a strategy or two that, I don't know, is a favorite of yours or that you see has really, resonated with people well?
Absolutely. One of my favorites is because people often say, well, how do I go about increasing my self-awareness? I only see what I see. And there's recommendations in the book around getting feedback from other people. Obviously, taking the assessment is giving you an objective look at your behavior. But there's a little game called You Spot It, You Got It. And that's one of the strategies in the book, to play that game. The idea is there's things that people do all day long that are either annoying or potentially annoying to us. But only certain ones get our goat. They really get us going. They irritate us. They capture our attention. And that's because they reveal something about you that perhaps you're not aware of. Perhaps it's something that you need to work on, and this is a reminder for you. And so in the strategy, I break down how to go through that mental process of when something gets your goat, to start asking yourself why, and see if you can get to the bottom of it. So that's a fun self-awareness strategy. One of my favorite relationship management strategies is lose the battle to win the war. Right? This is something I see in the data. More than 10 million people have taken my emotional intelligence test now. There's an incredible amount of data out there. And people have this tendency to, I would say, choose the wrong hill to die on. They want to win this momentary battle. They want to prove that they're right. It's so tempting to try to prove that you're right, sort of hunker down, so to speak, that it really it erodes the overall quality of the relationship. It irritates other people. It sends them in the wrong direction. So I think to be an effective relationship manager, you have to be able to choose your battles wisely and know when to stand your ground and when to acquiesce.
Yeah, a good friend of mine who had been married for a very, very long time said the secret is he realized he just thinks about, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy?
Yes, absolutely. And there's times where it's good to be right, and you should do that. But if you're constantly doing that as a knee-jerk reaction, that's not really showing consideration for the other person or the overall quality of the relationship.
Yeah. Sheila has asked a couple of questions that caught my eye here. I'm curious about. So one is when it comes to like burnout, is that even an EI EQ issue? What do you think?
I think it is. I think, well, there's two things. One, burnout has a lot to do with work environment. So people always make this assumption that burnout comes from working too hard. And you can influence burnout by working too hard, but really working very hard in the right environment leads to far less burnout than working in the wrong environment. So then you ask, well, how does it become an EQ issue? Well, how are you self-managing in response to that? And I think that's really the issue. The aspect of, so you may not be able to control your work environment. You may not be responsible for it. You may be in a large organization, but you have control over yourself and your awareness of how that environment operates, where you're going to set boundaries, how you're going to structure your time. And I think that aspect becomes an EQ issue. It's about self-care, because certainly self-care is the number one tool you have to minimize stress and minimize burnout.
And Sheila also asked, and Sheila, apologies, I'm going to take your question slightly different, but she says, in your early work, EI is framed around individual self-awareness, self-regulation. how do you see EQ today related to like group dynamics, group resilience, and basically team impact?
Well, there certainly are group norms around emotions. And the way I tackle that in the new book is really around the tone that leaders set. Because people in leadership positions, they just don't, they, not enough people tend to grasp that the emotional tone that they set, how they process and respond to emotions, to challenges, this tone that they set, it trickles down to everyone else. It creates the culture that everyone responds to. You're a little bit like a parent that way as a leader. You're modeling a behavior that everyone else inherently follows. So when I think of a group environment, I think of the people who are in the leadership role, the people who are the ones that everyone's looking at are the ones that need to set the tone.
Yeah, I love that. Dr. Mike was talking about emotional contagion and mirror neurons, and that was the big aha when I wrote the book. We over a decade ago was like I mean I'll just say it, like when I was first interested in leadership and employee engagement, it's because I wanted my company's morale to be better so I could make more money. It was about the business impact, and then realizing that like duh, we take our emotions home with us and they spread to those around us at home. It's like if I'm a bad boss, people become bad parents over the weekend, potentially. And so the impact that we set at home as actual parents and spouses, partners, or as team leaders, I don't think it can be understated. We got to model, what we hope everyone else will put forward. The I want to switch a little bit to we just saw, we asked 1,000 heads of leadership development last year, like, what's your number one priority for 2025? And emotional intelligence was it. And also, we talk about what's your biggest challenge, and they said we've got no time, we've got no headcount, no time, no money from higher ups for leadership development in general, let alone EQ, EI. And so talk about like the business case for EI specifically, and like how should folks on this call go make the case for the importance of EI to their CHRO, their CEO, whoever holds the purse strings?
Yeah, I think there's two elements to that. I think one is that you have to help people to understand that emotional intelligence is so important because of how our brains are wired. This is just how everybody thinks. And emotions are the primary driver of our behavior. We're having 400 emotional experiences every single day. And if you aren't the master of your emotions, then you're not the master of your behavior. You're being led around by them because emotions are not inherently rational. They tend to lead us to act in ways that are basically overreactions. So there's that. Beyond that, okay, prove to me that it has a business impact. So I have a section in the book called The Business Case for Emotional Intelligence. And this is all focused on this. How does it impact business performance? So I go through some case studies where organizations implemented emotional intelligence training programs or assessment and how it had a bottom line improvement. And to me, because I built a business around this, right? I did this for a long time. And it's hard to argue. If you see another organization that took sort of their baseline operations, the only change they made was trying to increase people's EQ, and then they saw bottom line improvements by changing people's behavior, that's kind of hard to argue with.
Um, Along these lines, so we had Dan Goleman on a couple of years ago, and I was kind of surprised. He basically said, look, you give someone an assessment, their EQ doesn't change that much. He said, you put them in a workshop, okay, maybe a little, but it has way more to do with what happens after the assessment and the training, whether they actually improve or not. Your own thoughts on that, your own advice about how folks should be ideally rolling out EQ?
Yeah, I think Dan's right on with that. You have pathways that reinforce your behavior. They reinforce how you read and respond to your emotions, and they're ingrained. And taking an assessment and sitting through a day-long workshop is not going to form new pathways in your brain. The only thing that will form new pathways in your brain is the habitual practice of new behavior, right? Forcing yourself to approach things in a new way over and over again until you catch yourself doing it. And that's the whole method in my book. It's pick one of these bite-sized 60 strategies, pick two or three of them, focus on them. And when you catch yourself doing one of them without thinking about it, that means you've formed a new pathway in your brain. Your brain's reinforcing the use of that behavior. Your brain loves efficiency. It's adopted this behavior. And, when I talk about we're talking about the business case for emotional intelligence in the book, that's actually one of my case studies. It's a whole project that I designed around that for a division of Fortune brands. And the whole point was we looked at, after the 360 feedback and the motivational training session, how much practice did people actually implement? And there was a linear relationship between practicing your emotional intelligence skills and improving your bottom line performance as a leader. So the more people did it, the more they improved. And the vast majority of people who didn't practice their EQ at all saw no improvement in their performance as a leader.
Yeah, it makes sense. And for those of you who were on last month's call with Sabina Nawaz, she said, "Hey, I start my executives with practicing things that are so small that they might laugh at how small it is. But it's just, and she gives them this checklist. Did you do this thing today? Did you do this thing today? And then it grows, over time. And I think that aligns with your 60 strategies. Pick one and lean into it. One more. We had a question from Pablo, who's basically asking, how does cultural issues, gender bias, et cetera, impact effectiveness of EQ strategies?
Well, I mean, any biases that you have are going to influence your effectiveness. So, you have to think about, okay, so a lot of the book focuses on social awareness and relationship management. Well, that hinges on your evaluation of other people. So if you just assume that your evaluation of other people is accurate and you don't know your biases, you're unlikely to have an accurate read on the situation, which is going to make you less effective. So part of being self-aware is understanding your biases. And sometimes you have to be self-aware to have a nice awareness of other people.
Yeah, that makes sense. We have a question which I'm going to answer, Allison Pearson, my friend. She says, "How do we persuade our company that a 5-minute micro learning EQ, is going to be good enough?" And there's comments about these 5-minute e-learning. LEADx is very clear, and we're not doing this from promotion. Like self-aware, everything starts with self-awareness. That's the assessments. You then need to know what these things are, which comes into the training, and then it's the practice, it's the follow-up, it's that application. And so for anyone, we always say to people, pilot it, try it. It's a low risk, low cost thing to do. And you can look to see if results are changing. Part of the system includes retests. So retest 4 weeks later, retest 12 weeks later. And those are your receipts to unlock budget. Do a pilot, show the improvement that a comprehensive program has. It's the classic approach. So Travis, any final thoughts before we send people into a quick networking breakout?
Final thoughts. I think that, I think people underestimate this aspect of making things habitual when it comes to increasing your EQ. Because I've run into this again and again. It's teaching people is not enough. That opens the door. It's what you do after that. It's what you do down the road that actually drives behavior change. So people a lot of people on this call are in learning and development roles, and you really have a responsibility, if you want to increase EQ, to give people a vehicle to follow a pathway, right? That's going to take them there. And a one-day training is a great start. It opens that door, but you have to have the methods to follow it up.
Love it. Travis, thanks for joining us. We'll get
Thanks
you
for having me.
Back on soon. Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So let me go back, and Evan, you're going to get ready to send people away into a quick networking breakout. And let me move out here. And I want to apologize to the questions I didn't get to. We're on the short 1-hour program. We'll make sure we get answers back from Travis and send them out in the follow-up. And we will randomly pick 100 people from this group to send a copy of his book out to. So, hey, when you go off into this breakout, remember, it's just a container for you to build your social capital, to build your network, which is so important for our careers and just happiness, to have more friends. So do what you want with the time. But we're at the mid-year point. So I just thought it might be fun to say, hey, you know, mid-year review, share it out. What have you been working on and how's it going? Do you have any wins? Do you have any learnings? And I think we're all, you know, in this together, trying to develop great leaders. It'll be interesting to hear what people are working on and how it's going. So Evan, let's send people away. And then when you come back, maybe I'll have that finicky ChatGPT. Welcome back. Always good to see you. Jeffrey Mills from Virgin Galactic.
All I gotta say is go Birds.
Go Birds. I don't know. I'm saying go Joel Embiid, fingers crossed. That's what I'm saying.
Giving up on that sport for now.
It's tempting. It's tempting. I know. I know. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you had a good breakout. Hope you had a good breakout. Hope there was more wins than learnings, but growth comes from our learnings, right? I actually, this year, I'm trying a new, I do a monthly reflection, but I lean into it more at the end of the quarter, at the halfway mark, and I'm using like a hero's journey framework. So I think about my life and what are the wins, you know, the battles I won, but what were the problems, who helped me, the allies, who were my enemies. And if I go too long without an enemy, I realize I'm not trying enough cool, new, hard things, because you learn the most. You know, what are the new skills you take away? Hero's Journey is a great framework because you realize it's up and down, and that's just part of growth. And no matter where that movie ends, there's always a sequel. So it's a good takeaway. Hey, really grateful for everyone with the time that you've given thus far. This isn't easy to fit in. You know, time is our most precious, valuable asset. I don't take that lightly. And our goal, of course, is always to make this your favorite meeting of the month. And so hopefully we're getting closer and closer. Please send us a note about how we can make it even better. How do we add more value? How do we make it more fun for you? And let's end with just some things that caught my eye since the last meeting, things that we aren't going to be able to go deep into now. It's just sort of like the top 5 plays of the day, but we're going to give you URLs, give you titles so you can Google the things that you're interested in so you could go a little bit deeper. And the first one, yes, I spent a lot of time on AI stuff, and this just surprised me that built into most of the AIs, ChatGPT, Claude, et cetera, are like shorthands that people use so often it knows what you're talking about. So like you could just type, most people will say, hey, rewrite this email for me or something. And you could say ELI5 and it knows, explain it like I'm 5. And then you paste it and it will like explain it to you like you're 5 years old. TLDR, of course, is too long, didn't read. So it's basically saying summarize this long thing. TLDR, just paste the text. Or paste the text and say jargonize, and it's going to make it sound a little fancier, more professional. Humanize. And then my favorite, it's kind of fun, but you got to, like, when you're interested in learning about something, Feynman technique, and then the topic. And it's going to go through this process. Feynman was legendary for being a great learner, great growth mindset, had a crazy process for that. So this was just kind of fun. I didn't even know these things existed. We will send you slides and notes next week. Harvard Business Review, new article, hybrid still isn't working. Now, this kind of is like beating a dead horse, right? So this is going on and on. And I must admit there was no big ahas in this article, but it was written by Peter Capelli, Philly guy, Wharton guy. And so anything that Peter Capelli is writing is being read by your CHRO. It's being read at the C-suite. I mean, that's the kind of weight he has. And so just knowing what people are talking about, you know, at the C level is worth spending some time, you know, with that article. The future of work is agentic. Of course, agents, agentic is kind of like one of the buzzwords, might even end up being like Times, you know, word of the year or whatever, whoever does that. McKinsey, great thought piece. And it's basically saying, think about your org chart. Now imagine it features both your current colleagues, humans, like most of us, and AI agents. That's not science fiction. It's happening relatively quickly. So they're talking about Chief Information Technology, the head of IT, being like head of HR for agents, and they're giving agents names. So, maybe you're going to do some marketing outreach campaign. Well, instead of having an ad agency or Kevin down in marketing, it might be Kevin.ai, who is an agent just for that task. Very interesting piece from McKinsey. What does it mean when our colleagues include AI agents? And already they're entering the workplace right now. Now, I talk a lot about AI because I do think it's not like the invention of the internet, it's like the invention of fire. And not everybody agrees with me. I think this is absolutely going to, change all of our lives, change the world in major ways, good and bad. This was a piece in Time by Paul Tudor Jones. He's a legendary 70-year-old billionaire, multi-billionaire hedge fund guy. I've spent my life measuring risk. AI rings every one of my alarm bells. It's a learning number that needs to be considered in the context of recent warning from Dario from Anthropic. AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20% in the next 1 to 5 years. I think it's understating it. We're already seeing that 20-somethings, those earlier in their careers, their unemployment rate's much higher than other age rates, right? So that what used to be kind of a rite of passage, hire cheap, young, inexperienced people, train them up. Well, it's like, we don't have the money really for that. And AI agents are totally doing the software coding that a rookie coder can do, copywriters, editors, whatever it is. This also is an article worth reading. And then I just want to say, with all my AI alarmist, perhaps, approach, this Professor Galloway, probably less known among all of you, comes more from the marketing world, NYU professor. One of my favorite reads and a great writer. So you should subscribe. Prof G Markets is one. And this newsletter was 3 ways to make yourself irreplaceable in the age of AI. When every device has got super genius IQ, how do you make yourself irreplaceable? And it comes down to curation, curiosity, and connectivity. I encourage you to read the whole article. But here, AI can summarize, analyze, even write with fluency. What it can't do is care. It doesn't build trust, show emotional investment, or make someone say, I want that person in the room. In an age optimized for competence, connection is the real premium. So we've come full circle that in this world of AI, developing our emotional intelligence, our relationship skills is paramount. And on that note, normally Dwayne sends us out with like an inspirational message to counterbalance my doom and gloom message, usually, I think. But let me end with this note, and it's going to tie back to some of the things we were talking about with Travis. AI is going to have a massive impact on us. There's an optimist view where everything becomes cheap and all the world's crises are solved because AI, and we have this nirvana. And there's doom and gloom, the P-doom people. That's like, we're going to have sentient AI that takes over and controls us all or kills us all. And the truth is going to be somewhere in between. But AI is definitely a forcing function, kind of like 9/11, kind of like when we lose a parent or a friend too early. And it's like, it reminds us about what really matters. AI is doing that. What really matters at work, what really matters at home. We're seeing it over and over. It's about that connection. It's about that curiosity. Travis talked about strategies, and we jokingly, myself and in the comments about, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So I will send you away with this reminder for the weekend. We do have agency. We do have power over how we live this weekend. It only takes a minute to pause, center, get control of our emotions, and choose. Do we want to be right or do we want to be happy? Let's give grace to those closest to us. Let's be grateful for what we have, not disappointed in what we don't have. And that way we'll be more emotionally intelligent and ready for all that life has for us. Thanks again for giving us all of your time. I want to see you back next month. Tell us how we can make this event better, and come back next month. Audra, the hearts, my gosh, just made my day. Look at these things. I don't even know how you guys do this. All right, take us away, Evan. Thank you, everyone. See you next month.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. All right.
How do we know if we win the book?
I think it's just going to show up, but that's a good question. We'll have to send out a list of the winners, so we weren't just pretending that people won.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin.
And we'll
Thank
give
you,
two
Kevin.
tickets
This
to
was
those
great.
who haven't asked.
Enjoy your day.
Thanks, everyone.